Welcome back to Love and Tears. Before we begin, can I ask you something? Where are you watching from right now? Are you in the US, the UK, Australia, Vietnam, or maybe somewhere else in the world? Leave me a comment below. I would love to see how far this story travels. Now let's step into tonight's story. It was supposed to be just another birthday party. Nothing unusual. Just friends, family, a few drinks, and laughter as we celebrated my best friend's 50th birthday. But what happened later that night when I came home changed everything. The house was alive with the kind of warmth only old friends can bring. The smell of pizza filled the air. Voices overlapped with chatter, and laughter echoed through the rooms. It was cozy, familiar, almost nostalgic. My son Ethan had stayed home. That wasn't surprising. He had just turned 20 last month, and lately he seemed to prefer his own company rather than gatherings, even if it was for someone close to me. I didn't think too much of it at the time. As the evening wound down, the music softened, conversations faded, and I knew it was time to head home. I walked out into the cool night breeze, slipped into my car, and took a deep breath. Just another night, I thought. But little did I know it would be a night I would never forget. When I arrived home, the house felt too quiet, even for a Saturday night. I walked through the living room, expecting to see Ethan on the couch with his game console. But then I noticed a dim light glowing from his room. His door was slightly ajar. I knocked softly. Ethan, he was sitting at his desk, his back to me. He turned quickly at the sound of my voice, and a small smile appeared on his face. It felt out of place, considering how distant he had been lately. "Hey, Mom," he said warmly, but there was something in his eyes that caught me off guard. Something that made my heart skip. I leaned on the doorframe. "What's on your mind, sweetheart?" Ethan lowered his gaze, staring at his hands before looking back at me. "I've been thinking about you, about how you've always been there for me, how much you've done. And I never really said thank you. I guess I took it for granted." A lump formed in my throat. "You don't need to thank me. I'm your mom." He shook his head, his expression tightening. "No, you don't get it, Mom. I've been selfish. I can't keep living the way I have been. I need to change. I'm not the person I want to be." My breath caught. For nearly 20 years, I had never seen Ethan like this, vulnerable, raw, honest. And in his voice, I heard something deeper. Like the ground beneath us was shifting. "Ethan, what do you mean?" I asked softly, stepping closer. He took a long pause, as if weighing the weight of his words. "Mom, I've always felt like I wasn't enough, but tonight it hit me. I'm enough. And I need to start living my life for the right reasons for myself, not anyone else." I stood there, overwhelmed with pride, but also with an ache deep inside, like I was watching my son step into a new world, one where he wouldn't need me in the same way anymore. Then he added something that shook me even more. "I think I've been holding on to things I shouldn't have. That I owe you more than just words. But I don't even know how to say it." His voice cracked. The walls he had always kept up were crumbling right in front of me. I placed my hand gently on his shoulder. "Ethan, whatever it is, we can talk about it. I'll always be here for you." He let out a shaky breath, his voice barely a whisper. I used to think we'd always stay the same. But we won't, will we, Mom? My heart tightened. In that moment, I realized how much my son had grown, how he was finally stepping into his own life. And though it hurt, I felt proud. Proud that he was brave enough to face himself, even if it meant slowly stepping away from me. Before we go on, quick question. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing how this story travels. Things will change, Ethan. I said, my voice steady but thick with feeling. But that doesn't mean I'm not here for you. We'll keep learning and growing together. You're not alone in this. He nodded a quiet resolve, settling over him. Thanks, Mom. For a moment, his words hung between us, like something fragile and important, and the room seemed to breathe with possibility, a space where change could really happen. But when he spoke again, I felt the night shift beneath my feet. I realized this was a turning point for both of us. "I don't know if you'll understand right now," he murmured. "But I think we both need a change in our own ways." His admission hit me like a tidal wave. Everything in me knew he wasn't just talking about himself. He was talking about us. And that was only the beginning. After that, the house settled into a kind of hush, the kind of silence that buzzes with anticipation, like the world was waiting to see what we'd do next. I stayed in Ethan's room longer than I expected, sitting across from him with my hands folded awkwardly, unsure how to fill the quiet. There was so much left unsaid, 2 puzzle pieces that almost fit, but needed a careful turn. I could feel him watching me as much as I watched him, both of us fumbling for a new way to be. He'd opened himself in a way that made my chest swell with pride and ache with a strange tender loss. As a mother, you want to protect your child from pain, but in trying to shield him, I'd perhaps kept him from growing, from finding who he truly is. The thought landed heavy and honest. Had I, in protecting him, also been protecting him from himself? I let out a long breath and ran my fingers through my hair. Ethan cleared his throat. "Mom, I didn't mean to upset you." "Upset me?" I blinked, trying to hide the rush of emotions. "No, you haven't upset me. You've given me a lot to think about." He looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" I swallowed. How to explain the knot of feelings I think I've been living inside a bubble, Ethan? I've spent so many years being your mom, protector, planner, problem solver, that somewhere along the way, I forgot who Claire is. I forgot what I want, what I need. His brow furrowed. "Mom, you're amazing. You've always been there. I don't know what I would have done without you." A bittersweet laugh escaped me. "I know you're grateful, and I'm proud of that. But that's not the point. I don't want to keep living in the margins of my own life. I want to be Claire, not just Mom. I've given so much of myself away that I don't even recognize who I am alone." Ethan absorbed that, looking away for a moment. Then quietly, he said, "I think I get it. I've been doing the same thing. I've been so focused on keeping everyone else okay that I forgot to look after myself." His words hit harder than I expected. like my own echo returning to me. For a beat, I didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. Here we were, two people who'd spent years performing roles we thought were fixed, now peeling those roles away to see what was left underneath. Ethan rose and walked to the window, staring into the night. "I don't want to keep pretending anymore," he said. "I want to know who I really am, not who I think I should be." There was a vulnerability in him that left me speechless. He was stepping away from the comfortable script, just as I was beginning to. He wasn't the only one searching for something beyond what we'd always known. "I want that for you too," I whispered, my throat tight. "You don't have to be perfect, Ethan. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just live for you." He turned eyes soft. "You're right, Mom. No more pretending." And in that quiet, a truth settled over us. We'd both been wearing masks. Him trying to be someone for me trying to be someone for him. We'd played our parts for so long, we forgot to ask who we were underneath. Now we were both ready to stop pretending. We were tired of the act. We were ready to begin. Before I continue, let me ask you something. Do you believe people can truly change when they face themselves honestly? Or do you think some things never really change? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. The room felt different now. The air between us shifted, heavy, but full of possibility. It wasn't just about Ethan anymore. It wasn't just about me either. It was about what we both could become, if only we let go of the weight we'd been carrying. I walked across the room and stood beside him at the window. Together we stared out at the city lights scattered across the night, tiny flickers against the vast darkness. They looked like 1,000 reminders of how wide the world was, how small our lives were in comparison. And yet, in that moment, it felt like the world was opening for us. Like anything was possible. "I've been thinking about that night at the party," Ethan said, suddenly, his voice breaking the silence. I glanced at him. "What about it?" He exhaled slowly. "What I said to you. It wasn't just about you. It was about me, too. I need to change. I need to stop hiding behind excuses. I need to start living for myself." My heart clenched. This wasn't just my son speaking. This was a man. Honest, raw, vulnerable, and finally ready to take responsibility for his own life. "You're right, Ethan," I whispered. "We both need to stop hiding." Something clicked inside me then, as though pieces of a puzzle that had always resisted alignment suddenly fell into place. That night, as I lay in bed, I replayed his words again and again. For years, I'd clung to the past, to who I used to be, to who I thought he was. But in the quiet of that night, I realized the past was gone. What remained was only the now. And if we were brave enough, we could build something new together. The days that followed felt different. Slower somehow, as though life itself had given us space to breathe. Ethan and I began to talk more, not the shallow everyday exchanges we used to have, but real conversations. Deep ones, painful at times, beautiful at others. It was as if we were rebuilding our relationship from the foundation up, but this time with truth at its core. Ethan began to open himself in ways I'd never seen before. And in turn, I started to open too. I saw him not just as my child anymore, but as a man with his own struggles, his own dreams, his own identity. And it was contagious. His courage made me examine my own life, the things I had put aside for far too long. One afternoon after work, I walked into the kitchen and found Ethan there. His back was to me, shoulders relaxed, humming softly to himself as he spread mayonnaise on a slice of bread. The sound made me pause. Warmth rose in my chest. It felt like I was hearing my son for the very first time. I leaned against the doorway, smiling. You know, you never used to hum when you were younger. What changed? Ethan stopped mid-motion, his knife still resting against the bread. He turned to me with a small grin. I guess I've learned to find joy in the little things. You taught me that? I blinked, caught off guard. I taught you that? He nodded without hesitation. Yeah. I used to think life was all about big achievements, big milestones. But now I realize it's the small moments that matter most, like this one. Just standing here with you. That's all I need. My heart swelled, my chest tightened. I took a step into the kitchen, my voice trembling. Ethan, I never knew you felt that way. Before I go on, let me ask you this. My dear friends, have you ever realized, maybe far too late, that you've been living more for others than for yourself? How did that moment of clarity feel? Share it with me in the comments, because I think many of us have been there. Ethan set the knife down gently on the counter and shrugged. It's something I've been figuring out, he said. Then his gaze softened, and honestly, I think it's the same for you too. You don't always have to be everything for everyone. You just have to be you. Isn't that enough? His words landed deep inside me. He wasn't just talking about himself. He was speaking to me, saying out loud the things that I had never been able to whisper to myself. It was okay to stop carrying all those roles. I didn't need to be the perfect mother, the perfect friend, the perfect everything. I just needed to be Claire. And for the first time in years, that finally felt like it could be enough. It was as though a fog lifted. My entire life, I had been running on the weight of other people's needs. Somewhere in that race, I had forgotten myself. I had forgotten what it meant to simply live as me. Not as mom, not as wife, not as friend, just Claire. I walked toward Ethan, who was still by the counter, watching me with those warm eyes that carried so much of his heart. I placed my hand on his shoulder. We didn't say anything at first. We didn't have to. The silence between us no longer carried tension, it carried peace. I'm proud of you, Ethan, I whispered, my throat tightening with emotion. I'm so proud of the man you're becoming. His lips curved into a genuine, radiant smile. And I'm proud of you, Mom, for finally finding your own path too. Those words hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't realized how deeply I had been waiting to hear them. His acknowledgement felt like a gift I didn't even know I had been craving. For the first time, I saw myself clearly stepping out from behind the roles I had played for so long. I think we've both come a long way, I murmured. Ethan nodded his eyes, full of quiet understanding. Yeah. And we still have more to figure out. But that's okay, as long as we keep moving forward. In that moment, I realized something I had feared for so long. Change wasn't an enemy. It wasn't something to resist. It was something to embrace. Ethan had changed, yes, but so had I. And that growth was beautiful. It was binding us closer than we had ever been before. The days that followed felt lighter. I began carving time out for myself again, to read, to paint, to take long walks just because I wanted to. I didn't need anyone's permission or approval. And Ethan? He began to discover himself beyond the expectations he had carried for years. He wasn't just my son anymore. He was his own man. We didn't have all the answers, but we had each other. And we were learning how to live for ourselves side by side. It wasn't always easy. Some days, the past still tried to drag us back. Doubts crept in, but we kept moving forward, and for now, that was enough, because sometimes the smallest moments are the ones that change everything. A quiet conversation in the kitchen, a shared truth spoken aloud. A realization that you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be you. That night, as I lay in bed, I finally felt peace settle over me. Ethan was no longer the boy who once needed me to hold him together. And I was no longer the woman who had lost herself in his need. We had both become something new, and in that becoming, we had found each other again. And truly, my friends, isn't that the greatest gift life can give us?